You would not last a week in these trenches. Cold mud up to your knees, rats chewing through your rations, rain leaking through your helmet while you sleep, if you sleep. And the worst part, this was not even the battlefield. This was just daily life. But not to talk about battles or famous generals? No, this is the quiet story, the slow, forgotten, worn-out truth of what it was really like to be a common soldier in World War I. Tonight, we are going back to one of the most unforgiving chapters in history. If you are watching this to help you sleep, to learn something in the calm hours of the night, or just to escape for a while, you are in the right place. Before we begin, do me a gentle favor. Tap like so this story reaches others who need rest. Subscribe if you want more sleepy journeys through the past. And in the comments, tell me what time and where are you watching from right now. It helps me know who I am keeping company tonight. Now, settle in. Let the rain fall. Let the past unfold. And let us begin with the quiet misery of waking up in the trenches of the Western Front. The morning begins not with sunlight, but with the sound of dripping. Soft, steady, endless, not silent, but still. You can hear the gentle rustle of wool coats shifting, the quiet creak of boots repositioning in the mud, a distant cough, a match flaring to life somewhere behind you, rain falling through layers of gray sky. They nest between crates and sandbags, chewing through letters and biscuits, and whatever warmth still lingers in your clothes. Some are bold enough to run across your chest in the night. Most of them are fat now, fat from feeding, sliding down rough sandbags, trickling from the rim of your steel helmet. It has been raining since last night. It has been raining all week, or perhaps longer. Time moves strangely here. Barbed wire juts out like broken bones. Shapes drift in and out of view. Tree stumps, helmets, mounds of earth. You do not look for too long. It has all blended together into a kind of trench perfume. You stopped noticing it weeks ago. Now it is just the air you breathe. One day blends into the next like wet ink on damp paper. You can feel it clinging to you like a second skin. The hens are caked in mud. It dries into stiff ridges that crack when you move. There are lice in the seams. You feel them crawl sometimes, tiny ghosts under your collar, behind your ears, around your waist. You scratch, but they always come back. The tips of your fingers sting with cold. You reach for your gloves, but they are soaked. Everything is soaked. Time to count ammunition. Time to pretend this morning is different than yesterday. Even your spare socks, wrapped tight in wax paper, hidden at the bottom of your pack, are damp now. You take it with both hands and bring it to your lips. But there is little hope. Letters are slow, and the censors cut them to ribbons. Most of the words you send never reach home. Most of the ones you receive are stained with rain or delay or loss. The skin underneath is pale, puckered, swollen. Trench foot is always waiting. You reach for the tin of whale oil. Someone curses under his breath as his kit slips into the mud. A tin rattles. A rifle butt splashes. There is only a little left. You rub it on anyway, hoping to keep the worst away. The tea inside is weak and murky, barely more than tinted water, but it is warm, and that makes all the difference. You have lost count of how many mornings have begun like this, cold, wet, and impossibly quiet. The plank beneath you is warped under the moisture. It is slick, cracked, and too narrow to lie on properly. You slept curled like a cat, chin against your chest, rifle beside you, packed beneath your knees. Not because it was comfortable, but because it kept you from sinking. The trench is still. Your back aches. Your arms are stiff. You shift your legs. Your foot catches something soft. You hope it is a blanket. He has not spoken in 2 days. His name is something simple. Tom or Jack or Henry, but names get lost here. You are known by your rank or by where you are from. London, Devon, Glasgow. Home becomes your identity. Because here there is only the trench. You hope it is not a rat. There are many here, more than men it sometimes seems. You sit up slowly. The sky above is a pale sheet of ash. Fog hangs low across no man's land, that strange and endless field beyond the trench where nothing grows. The smell is thick. Damp canvas, old socks, latrine waste, wet bread, gun oil, cigarette smoke, rotting wood, stale mud. You rub your hands together. Your uniform sticks to your arms. The wool has become heavy from the rain. Someone hands you a mug. It is dented, scratched, and warm. You drink slowly. Across from you, another soldier buttons his coat with trembling fingers. A whistle blows softly down the line. It is not the signal for anything urgent. Just the morning shift. Time to rotate the guard. Time to check supplies. You hear the squelch of boots in mud. A runner passes by with a satchel slung over his shoulder, slipping between men huddled under canvas lean-tos. The post has arrived. You look down at your boots. They are nearly black with muck. You pry one off and peel away the sock. Rain begins to fall harder now. You pull your coat tighter and press back against the wall of the trench, watching as water pools in the center pathway. You do not speak. You just breathe. Another morning in the trenches. Another day alive. And in this war, that is enough. By mid-morning, the trench begins to wake in full. It does not happen all at once. There is no bell, no parade, no clean division between rest and duty. The trench simply shifts. The quiet stretches a little thinner. Boots move more often. But the day must continue because the war does not pause. Men stand up and begin the familiar rituals. Straightening belts, adjusting gear, muttering low greetings that sound more like sighs than speech. It is not that anyone is full of energy. No one here is ever full of anything. The kind of slow, unbroken rainfall that soaks into everything, not in minutes, but in hours. Just a small section of the trench where a cook, usually a fellow soldier, not a trained man, ladles out the morning ration from a soot-blackened pot. The fire has been burning since dawn, hidden beneath a tin shield and fed with damp wood and hope. It slides down coat buttons. It seeps into cartridge boxes. It softens the wooden trench walls, makes the ropes sag, makes the sandbags lean like tired shoulders. The mud thickens, darkens, and rises. Some say they were made for soldiers in another time. They are not food so much as a suggestion of it. You dip it in the porridge to soften it. Your teeth are too tired for fighting with bread. Rain continues to fall. The clouds above are heavy with it. It is time for breakfast, though calling it that is generous. There is no mess hall here, no kitchen. A kind of porridge, though thinner, mostly made of oats and water, with bits of dried meat or vegetable when supplies allow. Today, there is a sliver of carrot in yours. It is soft. It is enough. You wait in line, mug in hand. The smell hits first, not unpleasant, not quite good either. It is warm, and in the trenches warmth is precious. Pencils smudge, ink runs, words are simple. I am well, I miss home. The food is poor, tell the children I think of them. The metal is polished with a strip of cloth that was once part of a sock. But it is not thunder. Reminds you that this quiet is not real. It is a pause, a breath held in the lungs of the war. It never is. Fire step, parapet, duckboards. Dugouts deeper down where officers sit hunched over field maps, arguing about lines and wire and weather. You have not seen your officer today. You may not see him at all. That is normal. Every part must be oiled, even in the rain, especially in the rain. If it jams, you might not get a second chance. There is little else to say. You take a piece of hardtack from your pocket. It is wrapped in paper and stamped with a date you try not to think about. These biscuits are older than the war. Some men talk quietly as they eat. Others sit alone. A few try to write letters, using knees as desks, holding paper steady against the wind and drizzle. Even the smallest rituals, a button fastened the same way each day, a tin mug cleaned with the same rag, boots leaned against the same wall, feel like resistance, like small victories against the creeping collapse. You walk carefully along the trench, boots sinking into the boards. Mud clings, water splashes. The rain has begun again. He does not snore. His body simply folds inward like a closing flower. He will wake soon enough. No one sleeps long here. The wait begins. This is the rhythm of trench life. Bursts of noise followed by endless waiting. Waiting for orders. Waiting for the next ration. Your coat, your shirt, your boots, all of it has become part of you, extensions of your skin. You do not think of them as clothing anymore. They are your shell, waiting for mail, waiting for shell fire, waiting for it to stop. You touch the charm around your neck, a medal, a coin, a ribbon, a lock of hair. Each man has something, not because it brings luck, but because it reminds you that the world outside the trench still exists, waiting for the next mistake or miracle. You sit beneath a tarp stretched between two crates, watching rain drip from its edge. A few meters down, someone is cleaning his rifle. You hear distant thunder. It is the sound of artillery miles away. It does not shake the earth here, not today, but it reminds you. The trench is layered. Above you, the rain has slowed to a mist. A man near you has fallen asleep, sitting up, his helmet tipped over his eyes, chin resting on his chest, hands clasped around his knees. Somewhere nearby, a kettle hisses. Tea again. Always tea. There is comfort in repetition. You run a finger along the inside of your sleeve. The fabric is thinner there, almost worn through. A shell that must hold. You check your pack. You count your ammunition. You count it again. You hear a whistle, short, sharp. It is just the signal to rotate positions. Nothing urgent. You stand, shoulders sore, knees stiff. Your breath comes out in a cloud. Another hour of waiting begins. Another spoonful of tea. Another smudge of pencil across the page. Another page turned on this slow-soaked chapter of history. And still, the war does not move. But you do, slowly, because in the trenches there is no other way. The light fades slowly, not in a dramatic way. There is no sunset here, no golden glow melting over the fields. Just a slow, steady dimming. The clouds thicken. The gray deepens into a darker gray, and the air cools as the damp settles more heavily across the trench. Evening in the trenches comes not with beauty, but with a kind of surrender. You feel it in your bones, in the silence between footsteps, in the way your breath comes slower now, fogging gently before your face. The warmth from the afternoon tea has long since left your body. What remains is the steady rhythm of drizzle on your helmet and the low rustle of men preparing for the long night ahead. Shifts change again. Men move to the listening posts, crouched low in forward holes dug just beyond the main trench. No whistles, no shouts. Their presence is constant, like the mud or the sky. Some men hum softly to themselves, melodies without words. Others sit with their backs pressed together for shared heat. Conversations are brief, murmured, measured. Even the scraps of your evening ration, a wedge of hard cheese, a stale biscuit, a sliver of preserved meat, must be wrapped and tied carefully. The rats will chew through cloth, through leather, even through metal tins if given the chance. Just the breathing of the trench, the rustle of canvas. A few quiet chuckles follow, but they fade quickly. No one has the energy to laugh too long. They emerge as soon as the light begins to fade, bold and confident, their eyes flashing in the gloom. Some are small, most are large, fat from waste, fat from the fallen. You eat in silence, spoon clinking gently against the tin, steam rising slowly into the cool air. One bite, another, then another, protected behind sheets of metal or glass to keep the light low. Too much glow draws fire, but a little is allowed. Enough to see by, enough to read, to write, to check your kit. You inspect your rifle again, run a cloth over the barrel, adjust your bayonet, oil the bolt. These tasks have become rituals, not out of discipline, but because repetition gives structure, and structure keeps the dark from crawling too far inside. You check your pockets. A letter from home, folded, creased, read dozens of times already. You open it again. Not because you need to remember the words, you already do, but because looking at it keeps the rats from getting it. You hear boots crunching down the trench, an officer or a patrol, or just another sleepless man walking to stay warm. You do not open your eyes. You just breathe. The creak of timber. From there they will strain their ears through the fog and wind, trying to catch the smallest sound, a snap of wire, a misplaced boot, a whisper carried across no man's land. You can hear the slow drip from the trench roof, landing in puddles below. Each drop echoes faintly, like the ticking of that clock, only slower, wetter, heavier, but enough. The way the blanket felt, the quiet sound of the clock ticking in the hall, the softness of a pillow, the weight of peace. The danger is always there, just beyond the mist, but it is quieter now, or at least it feels that way. Night brings its own sort of peace. Fields, homes, fireplaces, apples on trees, the scent of bread baking, not because it is safe, but because it is still. No shells. You pull a scarf over your face and lean into the side of the trench, feeling the rough texture of the sandbags press against your shoulder. You tuck your coat tighter around yourself. The wool is still wet. It is not dried since yesterday. It will not dry tomorrow. You have stopped waiting for dry clothes. Instead, you focus on warmth. You are not alone. There are always others nearby. and beneath it all, the rats begin to move. You hear them before you see them, skittering over beams, scuttling under boards. One darts past your boot. You flinch, but not from fear. From habit, you have learned not to leave food unguarded. A man beside you swats at one with a spoon. The rat hisses and vanishes into the darkness. Dinner comes in metal mess tins. The same stew as before, or something close to it. You do not ask questions. You do not want to know what it contains. The warmth is enough. You do not taste much anymore. But you chew out of routine. Chew because it fills your stomach, because it marks the passage of another day. When the meal is finished, you scrape the tin with a piece of crust and wipe it clean with a rag. The lamps are lit, dim, flickering. You hear a distant owl. A strange sound here, almost peaceful. A reminder that the world still exists outside this mud-lined graveyard. Somewhere beyond the wires and the shells and the orders and the rain, there are forests. Here, there is only rain. You close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to rest. Your helmet tilts forward. Your fingers twitch. You remember your own bed. Not clearly. A rat scurries over your boot again. You open your eyes. The sky is nearly black now. The rain has softened to a mist. Another night begins. You have made it this far, and sometimes that is all that matters. The letter feels damp in your hands, not soaked, not ruined, but softened by the moisture in the air. The edges are frayed from handling. You have folded and unfolded it more times than you can count. The creases now run deep, as though the paper itself carries the weight of the words written on it. You sit on an overturned crate, hunched beneath a canvas flap, the weak light of a trench lamp flickering beside you. Rain trickles down the rope that holds the canvas in place, gathering at the edge before dripping steadily to the mud below. Drip, drip, drip. You unfold the letter carefully. Familiar loops. The dog. Your youngest brother has started school. Your older sister has taken up sewing again. The church bells still ring on Sundays. A slightly shaky hand. A few misspellings. The way they echoed through the narrow street at home. The high, soft chime of the smaller one. The deeper, slower tone of the larger bell. You remember sitting on the front step, laces undone, listening as the bells faded into the distance. You remember the smell of bread baking somewhere nearby, but they are beautiful to you. A miracle of distance, of time, of survival. This one made it through. Others have not. Faces half smiling, eyes squinting at the light. Some are already gone. Others may be gone soon. That no matter how far the trench may seem, there is a world waiting beyond it. The ink has smudged in places, but the words remain. A woman in a long dress stands beside a boy holding a wooden toy. The background is blurred. A garden, perhaps, a tree, a fence. You stare at it for a long while, not because you have forgotten what they look like, but because it reminds you that they are still real. You begin to read slowly, silently, lips moving with the rhythm of each sentence. No names of towns, no mention of illness, no questions about when you will return. A wooden board, a strip of sky, a tin cup, a name scratched into a helmet. But the letter, the photograph, they widen the trench just enough for memory to breathe. He pauses often to clear his throat or to steady it. His letter must have arrived today as well. You do not listen closely, but the tone is enough. It is the same kind of letter. A wife, a mother, a sister, a child. But in the spaces between the lines you find more than what is written. The letter is short. They are always short. War censors cut anything too specific. There is talk of the weather back home. The rain, curiously, has arrived there too. There is mention of the garden. You close your eyes for a moment, and something faintly sweet. Someone nearby has torn open a package of boiled sweets, probably sent from home. The smell is brief but strong. It fades quickly into the ever-present fog. You can almost hear them, the church bells. Others had family once, but that was before the war. Still others cannot read. They hold the envelopes in their hands, tracing the letters like symbols from a world they cannot fully enter. Often, someone will read aloud for them, slowly, kindly, skipping the parts that might hurt too much. You remember what peace felt like. You check your boots, still soaked. You adjust the scarf around your neck. It smells of mildew and tobacco. You lean back against the wall and let your eyes fall shut for a moment. A feeling that now lives somewhere between dream and memory. You return to the letter. The final lines are more careful, more tender. They tell you to keep warm, to stay dry, to write back when you can. They remind you that you are missed, that you are loved. You fold the letter again, slowly smoothing out the creases with your fingers. You tuck it into your chest pocket, wrapped in the same cloth that holds your photographs, faded black and white portraits taken before you left. You pull out one photograph. It is small. Out here, the world feels distant, faded, unreachable. The war has a way of shrinking your world down to a few meters of muddy ground. You hear someone nearby, a man reading aloud, his voice hushed, words tumbling out in a slow, uneven rhythm. A long silence follows. You think of the men who do not get letters. Some have no family. You remember a man last week who wept when someone read him a single line. It was just 6 words. Dinner is warm. I miss you. That was all. You watch a drop of rain slide down the side of your rifle. You wipe it with your sleeve, more from habit than concern. A breeze slips through the trench. It carries the scent of wet canvas, gun oil, damp earth, memories like that. A flicker, a smell, a taste, a voice. Then it is gone again, swallowed by the slow rhythm of the trench. But for a moment it was enough. You were somewhere else, not in uniform, not in the mud. Just a man, remembering what it was like to be loved. And sometimes that is the only warmth you have. There are many enemies in the trenches. Some are loud, shells, bullets, gas. Others are quiet, persistent, intimate. The body, when forced to live in mud and cold and rot, becomes its own battlefield, and no soldier escapes it. You begin the morning with a scratch. It is small, barely a flick of the fingers along your neck, but it returns. It always returns behind your ear, at the back of your knee, under your armpit. You scratch again and again. Soon it is not one itch, but many, crawling, shifting, biting. You roll up your sleeve and inspect the inside of your shirt. They're tiny gray specks, some dead, in the creases behind buttons, in the folds of your undergarments. You cannot wash them away. Water is too precious. Soap is rare. Fire, if available, is the only true weapon. Burning seams with a candle to chase them out. Lice spread through shared blankets, through close contact, through the very air. You take a strip of newspaper, if you have any, though it is already wet. You return to your section of the trench, feeling unclean, exposed, empty. You wash your hands with rainwater from a can. It does nothing. You hold your breath. You crouch. You try not to think about what is below. You do not look. They carry disease. They bring fever. They itch you out of sleep. They remind you constantly that your body is no longer your own. Others wriggling slightly. You peel back your boot and inspect it. The skin is pale, waxy, beginning to break in one place. You dab on the last of the whale oil, wrap the foot in a dry scrap of cloth, and slide it back into the boot with a wince. There is no time for healing here, only time for slowing the decay. His mirror is a dented tin, and his razor has dulled. He wipes it on a rag between strokes, eyes narrowed in concentration. His face is thin, gaunt, but this ritual gives him shape. It gives him a moment of self. Lice, the trench companions no man invited, but all must keep. Clean sheets, a summer window. A voice calling from downstairs. Wet. It rattles in his chest. You glance over but say nothing. Everyone here is sick. Cold spread like wind through the trench. Fevers come and go. The medics are overwhelmed. The medicine is weak. Most men simply fight through it, wrapped in coats and hope. You hear the creak of the latrine door swinging in the wind. Someone wrenches nearby. A fly buzzes past your ear. Your fingers are cracked, your lips chapped, your knees ache from crouching. Your shoulders burn from shivering. You fold it carefully and return it to your coat. They live in the seams of your clothing. You cover it with a strip of cloth and tighten it with your teeth. The mud beneath your fingernails has turned black. You try to remember the last time you were clean. You cannot. But even then they come back. Every man here has them. It is not shameful. It is simply fact. You scratch absent-mindedly as you chew on a biscuit. The taste of chalk and flour mixes with the taste of bitter tea. Your hands are too dirty to touch your face. You wipe your nose with your sleeve. It leaves a smear. Your socks are damp again. You feel the prickle of trench foot returning, a dull throb along the arch of your foot. And then there is the latrine. That corner of the trench everyone knows and no one speaks of. It goes by many names: the latrine, the loo, the bog, the cesspit. It is nothing more than a pit dug behind a torn sheet of canvas, perhaps with a plank laid across it, or a barrel cut in half. The flies know it well, so do the rats. It reeks from morning to night, and worse still during rain, when the runoff mixes with the waste and spreads. But you must go, because the body does not wait. You pick your moment, when no one is queuing, when the wind is kind. There is no privacy, just a thin canvas sheet and the sound of others passing nearby. Conversations continue, just slightly softer. Laughter sometimes, complaints always. You sit again, you scratch again. The lice never left. A man near you is shaving, not because he must, but because he needs something to control. You reach into your pocket and pull out a handkerchief. It smells of mildew now, but once it held perfume. You hold it near your nose for a moment. A memory rises. Another man nearby sneezes violently. A second coughs. The sound is harsh. You feel a pain in your back as you stretch. It is dull, constant, born from the way you sleep, the way you walk, the way you carry gear that grows heavier each day. This is the slow defeat of the body, not from wounds, but from living like this. You pick at a scab on your wrist. It bleeds just a little, but you are alive. That, too, is a kind of victory. The rain continues. It slides down the back of your neck, seeps into your shirt, pools around your ankles. You breathe in and wait. You know the whistle is coming. You do not know when. But you know it begins the day before with a rumor. A murmur passed along the trench from a corporal with a folded note, from an officer with a drawn face, from the quartermaster who distributes more ammunition than usual, from the cook who gives out an extra biscuit and does not meet your eyes. Tomorrow, they say, that one word is enough to drain the color from the trench. Men move slower. They speak less. The laughter, already rare, vanishes entirely. You go through the motions, eat, drink, scratch, smoke, but none of it feels real. Your mind begins to drift toward the wire, toward the mud beyond it, toward the black mouth of no man's land, the ground no one truly owns. That cursed stretch of earth where the dead are left and the living are sent to join them. You clean your rifle again, not because it is dirty, but because it must be perfect. The bolt must slide smooth. The trigger must move like breath. You check your bayonet, tighten your boots, finger the spare rounds in your pouch. You feel them press against your ribs with every breath. Heavy, solid, real. Night comes, but sleep does not. You lie with your back against the trench wall, knees drawn up, helmet tilted low. You close your eyes. You count breaths. You listen to the rain. But your thoughts wander. Your chest tightens. Your stomach turns over like a stormy sea. You try to think of home, but the image is slippery, as if your mind cannot hold it in the presence of what comes next. When the sun rises, no one greets it. The trench is quieter than ever. Even the rats seem to move more softly. The officer walks the line. His boots make small splashes in the puddles. His coat is too clean, his eyes too far away. He stops to speak in whispers, tells you where to go, what time, which ladder, what code, what flare. You nod. You understand it is all the same. It is always the same. You eat a final biscuit. You light a cigarette. You share a glance with the man next to you, a glance that says everything and nothing. You feel the shift when it begins. Men line up along the fire step, rifles in hand, bayonets fixed, faces drawn, pale, hollow. One man mutters a prayer. Another touches a photograph tucked into his chest pocket. A third stares straight ahead, unmoving, eyes wide but empty. You hear the officer's boots. You hear the click of a pocket watch. You hear the wind whispering through torn sandbags. The rain has become mist again. The trench is cold, damp. The boards creak beneath your weight. The mud clings to your legs. You place one hand on the ladder. You feel the wood, worn smooth by hundreds of hands before you. Men who climbed it and never returned. Men who froze halfway up. Men who leapt down again, screaming. You breathe. You wait. There's no noise now. Just heartbeats. Just breath. And then the sound. A sharp, shrill whistle. Not long. Not loud, but final. Time stops. Your foot moves. Your fingers grip the edge. You climb. One rung. Then the next. The top of the trench appears, the sky above, the ruined trees, the wire, the shattered landscape. You lift yourself over. Mud meets your boots. Cold, sucking, wet. You run or try to. The earth resists. Each step is a battle. The rifle is heavy. The air smells of powder and soil and something metallic. You duck low. You feel wind pass your face. Not wind, but bullets. You do not stop. Men fall around you. Some scream. Others simply fold into the mud, limbs tucked like children in sleep. But there is no time to look, no time to think. Only forward, only breath, only the beat of your heart pounding against your ears. You make it to a crater. You dive inside. Mud splashes. You sink to your knees. You breathe in short, sharp gasps. Your fingers shake. Your body trembles. You check your rifle. It is wet. It is caked in dirt. Someone lands beside you. You do not know his name. You do not need to. He breathes like you do. His eyes are wide like yours. The two of you crouch in silence, waiting, listening. Another whistle, farther ahead. More movement. You follow. You move again. Crawl, slide, stand, run. The world becomes a blur of brown and gray and fear. And then a signal, a retreat. You do not know why. You do not ask. You run back, boots slipping, mud sucking, arms pumping. You leap into the trench, land hard, collapse into water. You lie there coughing, eyes burning. Someone helps you up. You do not speak. You simply sit, covered in mud, soaked, numb. You made it back. Others did not. You do not ask who. You do not look around. You simply sit and wait for your hands to stop shaking. There is a sound that lingers even after it ends. Not a gunshot, not a scream, not a whistle. It is the sound of something breaking, not in the air, but in the mind. You sit quietly, back against the cold trench wall. Your hands are clasped together, not out of prayer, not for warmth, but because they shake when they are alone. Your rifle lies across your lap. You have not cleaned it yet. You will, but not yet. Everything feels slow now. Each movement takes effort. Each breath feels like it must be remembered. The ground is wet. It always is. Rain falls somewhere above. You hear it tapping softly on the tarp above your head, like fingers, like a clock. Tap, tap. Time moves strangely here. It slips. Sometimes an hour passes in a blink. Other times a second stretches on forever, looping over and over in the mind. A flash of light, a scream, the weight of a body, the splash of mud that was not just mud. You have not spoken in hours, perhaps longer. Your mouth feels dry, but you are not thirsty, or maybe you are. You cannot tell. Hunger, thirst, sleep, pain, they have all started to blur into one long, numb ache. Your skin feels too thin. Your thoughts feel far away. You see a man across the trench. He is staring, not at you, just staring, at nothing in particular. His eyes are open, wide, too wide. His hands clench and unclench slowly. He rocks gently on the balls of his feet. Someone calls his name. He does not answer. They call again. Still nothing. He was fine yesterday, laughing even. Today, he is a shadow. They say the word softly, shell-shock, not in front of him, but behind his back, in whispers, in glances. It happens often now. Some men shake violently. Hands that once loaded rifles now cannot hold spoons. Others weep without sound, tears sliding down mud-streaked cheeks, unnoticed even by themselves. Some scream in their sleep, others scream while awake. There are those who simply vanish inward, eyes glazed, breath shallow. They sit for hours, unmoving, as though the mind has fled the trench entirely, fled the war, fled the self. You understand it now. Before, you did not. Before, you thought it weakness, a failure of courage. But now, after enough nights crouched in craters, after enough mornings scraping blood from your boots, after enough hours listening to the wind and wondering if it carries gas, now, you see, it is not weakness. It is the soul reaching its limit. You remember a man who forgot his name. He sat with a photograph in his hands, staring at the faces in it, whispering guesses. Sister? Wife? Daughter? He could not remember. The names had gone. The meaning had slipped through the cracks of memory. He was taken away quietly. You do not know where. Perhaps to the rear, perhaps farther, perhaps nowhere at all. Some are left here. Too many to move. Not enough space. Not enough doctors. You hear one now, a soft whimpering from the dugout. A man breathing too fast, his eyes darting. He sees something you do not. His voice cracks as he speaks to someone who is not there. He clutches his knees to his chest. No one goes to him, not because they do not care, but because they are afraid of what they might see in themselves. You try to sleep. You close your eyes. But inside your mind there is no quiet. The whistle returns. The flash, the crater, the scream. You open your eyes again. The rain continues. You sit still. Someone nearby lights a match. The flare startles you. You flinch. Your breath catches. Your heart races. You tell yourself it was just a match. You tell yourself you are safe, but the body does not believe words. The mind does not always listen. There is a man who talks in circles. He repeats the same phrase over and over. No one knows what it means. Maybe he does not either. He mumbles it in his sleep. He mumbles it while he eats. He mumbles it when there is silence, especially then. You used to cover your ears. Now you barely notice. The trench has become a choir of broken thoughts. Each voice a different note. Each man carrying his own kind of silence. There are books in the medical tent, thick, heavy volumes. They do not know what to call this yet. They write long names: hysteria, war fatigue, mental disturbance. But those words are too clean. They do not match the twitch of a shoulder when a board creaks. They do not explain the man who digs holes at night, thinking he is burying his brother. They do not fix the dreams. You hold the letter in your pocket, but you do not take it out. Not tonight. You are not sure if you want to remember. You breathe slowly, one breath in, one breath out. You tell yourself that tomorrow will be better, that the rain will stop, that your hands will be steady, that your name will still be yours. And for now, that must be enough. There is a word passed along the trench. Rotation. It moves from mouth to mouth like a fragile hope, spoken in tones too soft to carry weight, but just loud enough to stir the heart. Your company, they say, is being pulled back. Not far, just to the rear. A few miles, a few days. Not home, but not here. The orders arrive as folded notes tucked in the hand of a silent officer. No speech, no ceremony, just a nod, a glance, and then the slow, careful packing of bags. You move out at dusk. The rain has eased to a fine drizzle, and the mist curls low across the earth. You step over boards, past collapsed sandbags, past broken shovels and blackened helmets and puddles filled with the memory of the sky. The trench narrows, then widens, then ends. You climb out. For a moment your legs resist. The earth feels wrong. Too open, too wide. The sky stretches above you like an ocean. Your heart flutters, not from joy, but from disorientation. You walk in silence. The path behind the lines winds through the woods. The trees are thin and bare. Their bark is streaked with mud and shrapnel scars. You step carefully over roots and puddles. Your boots are heavier than ever. Every step seems to echo. Around you, the world begins to change. You pass a horse, then a cart, then a small shed, roof patched with canvas, smoke curling from a hole in the top. You hear voices that do not whisper. You smell something sweet, fruit maybe, or something fried and fat. Then fences, a clearing, low buildings, a canvas tent, barbed wire and loops, but decorative now, not defensive. Soldiers moving about without rifles in hand, some laughing, some with shirts unbuttoned. One is singing, a voice cracking slightly, but filled with something you do not recognize at first. It is not hope. It is the memory of it. You are given a cot, a mattress, not soft but real, not wood, not mud. It smells of dust. You lie down. You do not sleep. Not yet. You listen to the others. Their breathing, the rustle of sheets, the sounds of teeth grinding, the sudden jerks of limbs. Even here, the war follows. You are told there will be food, real food, not tin stew or biscuits, but meat, potatoes, bread. You do not believe it at first, but then you see the kitchen, a real stove, a line of men holding empty plates, steam rising from pots like ghosts. You eat slowly. Every bite is strange, too soft, too warm, too full of flavor. Your tongue struggles to remember how to taste. You chew with your eyes closed. You swallow with care. You sit with your hands in your lap for a long time afterward, not wanting to stand, not wanting to speak. There is a place to wash, a barrel of water, a cracked mirror, a comb. You stare at your reflection. It takes a moment to recognize it. Your eyes are darker. Your skin is thinner. Your cheeks are hollowed. The man looking back at you is older than you remember. His shoulders are not straight. His jaw is not set. He blinks slowly. He breathes carefully. You shave. The blade scrapes across your skin with small, steady strokes. Hair falls into the bowl below, some of it gray. You do not remember when that happened. Others are writing. Letters, postcards, sketches. Some talk of home, of wives, of children, of trees in bloom, of the smell of coffee. Others speak of nothing. They sit beside one another and say things that have no weight. The color of the sky, the size of boots, the shape of a spoon. But even that is something. Even that is peace. There is a woman here, a nurse. She walks among the cots, checking bandages, offering tea. She does not speak much, but her presence is different, calmer, cleaner, not from the trenches. Her boots are not stained with mud. Her voice does not shake. When she hands you a mug, her fingers brush yours, and for a moment you remember what human warmth feels like. You do not speak to her. You nod. She nods back. There are rumors, peace, a breakthrough, a letter from a general. a ceasefire somewhere to the south. None of it is confirmed. None of it matters. The war, like the mud, finds its way back to you, no matter how far you walk. You sit beneath a tree. The bark is rough against your back. You light a cigarette and watch the smoke curl upward. Above, a patch of blue sky breaks through the clouds, just for a moment, just long enough to remind you of another world. A world without trenches, without lice, without the whistle. A world where the sky means something more than exposure. You look at your boots. They are still covered in dried mud. You do not clean them. You let the mud stay. You let the smell stay because you know this is not the end. This is not freedom. This is only the rear. A pause, a whisper of normal, a breath before the plunge. There is a kind of fear that does not start with a sound. It starts with a smell, sharp, bitter, metallic, not strong at first, not overwhelming, just wrong, out of place, like burning rubber or spoiled onions or fireworks left in the rain. You catch a hint of it beneath the usual trench smells, the mud, the sweat, the rot, and your body tenses before your mind fully understands why. Then you hear the shout, gas, gas. It is not screamed. It is never screamed. It is barked, urgently, clearly, repeatedly, the sound of boots scrambling, the creak of leather straps, the clatter of tin canisters. You reach for your mask, always nearby, hung around your neck, tucked inside your coat. You yank it out with fingers that do not move fast enough. You fit it over your face, rubber, rough and cold. The eyepieces fog instantly from your breath. You fumble with the straps, tightening them until your temples ache. The mouthpiece tastes like dust and rubber and something chemical. Your breath grows louder, hotter, shallow. Through the lenses, the world changes. Everything becomes distorted. Shapes bend, edges blur. Your breath echoes inside the mask, a soft, rasping rhythm. You blink and the fog clears slightly. You see men doing the same, pulling masks on, helping each other. A man vomiting before he can finish. Another dropping to his knees, eyes wide. Then the gas arrives. It moves like mist, but heavier. Low, crawling, greenish in color, almost yellow in places. It hugs the ground, slides through the wire, drips into the craters, pours down the trench walls like a silent flood. You feel it even through the mask. It burns your eyes. The air feels thicker, denser. Each breath is a struggle now, drawn through filters, soaked in chemicals you cannot name. The mask works for now, but it is not comfort. It is delay. You know that if the filters are too old, or if the mask has a crack, or if the seal is broken, even slightly, the gas will find its way in. You have seen what happens then. It starts with coughing, then choking, eyes swelling, skin blistering. The gas strips the body from the inside. You have seen men claw at their throats, seen foam bubble from lips, seen lungs give out while the heart keeps beating, and there is nothing you can do, nothing but wait. Gas is cruel because it does not roar, it does not explode, it does not announce itself with fire and fury. It just drifts, quiet, relentless. It seeps into every crevice. It waits and holds. It lingers after the attack has passed. You stay still. Your mask hisses softly with each breath. You grip your rifle, but you do not raise it. There is no enemy to fire at, only fog, only air turned against you. You feel sweat begin to form beneath the mask. It drips down your chin, mixing with the chemical sting. You blink again. You cannot wipe your eyes. You cannot scratch your nose. You cannot take off the mask. Not yet. You wait. You wait longer. Then, slowly, the fog begins to thin. Carried off by wind, burned away by time, it leaves behind a bitter scent, a silence, a kind of ache in the lungs that will not fade. Even with the mask removed, the air does not feel clean. You breathe through your mouth. You wipe your face with a filthy sleeve. Your hands shake. Around you, men begin to move again. Some are coughing, some are not. You do not ask. You do not speak. You just count your breath and listen for the next call. Because gas is not like bullets. It does not miss. It waits. And even when it leaves, it stays. You see it later in the hospital tents. Men with bandaged eyes, lungs that rattle like broken shutters. Some blinded, some half alive. Some still in masks because their bodies panic without them. You hear the stories of new gas types, stronger ones that cling to clothes, soak into the mud, eat through boots, ones that have no smell at all. You wonder what air used to taste like. You try to remember the feel of a wind that did not carry poison, a breeze that was only a breeze. You cannot. Now every gust is suspect, every fog a warning. You learn to sleep with your mask close, to test it every morning, to keep the filter dry. You learn to read the wind like a fisherman. You learn to breathe carefully, not deeply, not too fast. You learn that air, the very thing that keeps you alive, has turned against you, and there is no going back. The war ended. But for many soldiers, that was not the end of the suffering, not by a long march. When the armistice was signed on November 11th, 1918, the world exhaled. Church bells rang. Crowds gathered in the streets. The front grew quiet for the first time in 4 long years, at least not in the way they had imagined. Some limped, some blinked too often. Some stared at nothing in particular, and others never really spoke about it at all. But the men who stepped off the trains, boots muddy and uniforms worn to threads, did not come home as heroes. They were older, thinner, and quieter than when they had left. For many soldiers, home had moved on without them, and the silence, the peaceful silence they had once longed for, they now felt eerie. The shops, the wives, the quiet towns, almost too clean, too gentle, as if the world had no idea what they had just survived. Because being alive also meant remembering the friends who did not make it. It meant waking up in cold sweat. It meant sudden headaches from the gas. It meant wondering, why them and not me? Factories had changed. Families had shifted. Children had grown. Streets felt narrower. Beds felt unfamiliar. It just got quieter, more private, tucked away behind small talk and Sunday dinners and cups of tea that went cold too fast. Their wives only knew to leave the room when their hands began to shake. People would say, "You are lucky to be alive," not just in the gas and rain and mud. Could not stop hearing the echo of artillery in their dreams. And yes, they were. But luck was a complicated thing. No diagnosis, no real understanding of what we now call trauma. Back then, it was just called shell shock, and you were told to get over it, to be a man, to move on. Some men returned to fields. Others could not find work, could not settle. There was no therapy. But how do you move on when your best friend vanished in a cloud of smoke before your eyes? How do you laugh at dinner when every loud knock sounds like incoming fire? How do you love someone again when part of you is still in that trench, waiting for the next shell? The war ended. But for many, the noise did not stop. Some never spoke of it again, not once. Their children would never know what they saw. It sucked to be a soldier in World War I, not just in the trenches, but even after it all. When the medals were put away and the rifles were gone, what remained was the silence. And that silence could be heavier than any pack they had carried.